Hello and welcome back to my channel. Do you know that the cost of living has risen so high in US? The BRICS Global Economic Summit that was held are already strategizing to have one common currency that will serve the whole world. Hello, beautiful people. You're specially welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time coming across this channel, I say you're super beautifully welcome. I remain your humble sister from another mother. My name still remains Her Excellency of the Federal Republic of my Kingdom, Tahila the Great. And you're welcome. Now, one of the biggest summits we saw that caught the global attention and all the media houses is the BRICS Economic Summit. This is the summit that attracted global leaders, likes of Xi Jinping, the president of China. Putin was there, and a whole lot of African countries, including the representative of Nigeria. Now, one of the hosts of that event was the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa. The event, which was held in Johannesburg, drew a lot of global attention. And in that event, a lot of economic issues were being discussed that will reduce the suffering of the underdeveloped countries. Now, the topic of that event that caught the attention of the whole people is making growth and sustainable development a reality. Now, in that event where they talked about a lot of issues, especially food security, they want a situation whereby by the year 2024, the economy, the BRICS economy will be able to produce food that can even serve the entire world. Now, in that event, we saw technocrats, we saw academians, we saw policymakers, we saw entrepreneurship, and then we saw a lot of issues were being discussed. Now, coming up in this video you're about to watch is to listen to the host, that is the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, who is going to give us some detail. You know, the man is very intelligent. It's somebody I like listening to, and I know you too, you like listening to the person. So patiently listen to what Cyril Ramaphosa is going to tell us in this video. And that is another important thing where we are going to be having one common currency. Come 2024. So guys, those are the many more things you'll be getting in this video. Now, after Cyril Ramaphosa speaks to us, we're going to be bringing the next person to talk to us. Guess who? Guess who? Guess who? President Putin. President Putin, who was not physically present in the event but sent a representative, which what he spoke is going to be interpreted. So you're going to be listening to the interpretation of his doctored video. So guys, do not forget to hit that red subscription button if you are seeing my face for the very first time, and click on the notification bell for more of my news coming your way. Or follow me on my Facebook page. Just follow, is free. Subscription is free. Follow, like, comment, and share. Keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing. I will be right back.
It's now my pleasure to invite the President of the Republic of South Africa, our host, who has inspired us with a vision of Africa and her place in the world. Please welcome His Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Thank you, Program Director, Minister Ibrahim Patel, Your Excellency President Luis Lula da Silva, Your Excellency Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Honorable Ministers and business leaders, and Your Excellency President of the New Development Bank, Ms. Dilma Rousseff. I greet you all, and it's a great honor to have this opportunity to participate in this leaders' session of the BRICS Forum. I particularly want to thank Mr. Sim Tshabalala for the report that he has just given, and particularly underline and appreciate the message that is coming from all of you as business leaders about the immense opportunities that you see in investment across the BRICS countries. The BRICS group of countries exists not only to strengthen government-to-government relations, but also to forge stronger ties between the peoples of our 5 nations. It is for this reason that several bodies have been established since the BRICS was formed to enable cooperation across society, be it in business, be it in political parties, be it in the social sector, and also in the sporting sector. The BRICS Business Council is a vital and vibrant platform for strengthening economic ties between our respective countries and in forging common perspectives on inclusive economic growth and development, as we have heard from the report that has just been tabled by Mr. Tshabalala. The changes that have taken place in BRICS economies over the past decade have done much to transform the shape of the global economy. Together, the BRICS countries make up a quarter of the global economy. They account for 1/5 of global trade and are home to more than 40% of the world's population. This agglomeration of these 5 countries has a major impact on various aspects of global activity and life. As we celebrate the 15th anniversary of BRICS, trade between BRICS countries totaled some $162 billion last year. Foreign investment has played an important role in the growth of BRICS economies. Total annual foreign direct investment into BRICS countries is 4 times greater than it was 20 years ago. However, the new wave of protectionism and subsequent impact of unilateral measures that are incompatible with WTO rules undermine the global economic growth and development. We therefore need to reaffirm our position that economic growth must be underpinned by transparency, by inclusiveness. It must be compatible with a multilateral trading system that supports a developmental agenda, the type of developmental agenda that the 5 countries that are members of BRICS have embraced right from the onset. We require a fundamental reform of the global financial institutions so that they can be more agile and responsive to the challenges facing developing economies. In this respect, the new development bank, established by BRICS countries in 2015, is leading the way. Since its formation, it has demonstrated its ability to mobilize resources for infrastructure and sustainable development in emerging economies without conditionalities. Earlier, before coming into this session, I was speaking to the president of the New Development Bank, and she was outlining to me how ready and willing the New Development Bank is in terms of supporting the development agendas of various countries. And we applaud this, and we appreciate this. BRICS economies have emerged as powerful engines of global growth. Yet the rapid economic, technological, social changes underway create new risks for areas such as employment, equality, as well as poverty in many of the BRICS countries. It is quite heartwarming to hear you as business people, as one listened to Mr. Chabalala's report, also focusing on issues such as poverty reduction and elimination, and inequality as well. It isn't often that you hear such very positive and forward-looking messages from the business community. So it's wonderful to be in a forum under the aegis of BRICS that you as business leaders are in tune with the developmental agenda that needs to be pursued to lift the people who live in BRICS countries and beyond out of the ravages of poverty and inequality. We therefore call on the business community to join hands with us to identify solutions to these and many other challenges affecting our respective economies. From a South African perspective, there is massive untapped potential for investment in our country and indeed on the African continent as well. In recognition of this potential, the theme for this 15th BRICS Summit is BRICS and Africa, the partnership for mutually accelerated growth, sustainable development, and inclusive multilateralism. Africa is a continent of great opportunity in industrialization process in a variety of sectors. This continent is rich in the critical minerals that will drive business success in the 21st century. The continent has resources of lithium, vanadium, cobalt, platinum, palladium, nickel, copper, rare earth minerals, rhodium, and many others. And these are the minerals that are bound and are driving economic activity across the world. African countries have made it clear that the investors of choice are those who will come and invest in our continent, but also process the resources here, close to source, so that African countries do not export rock and sand, but export finished products as we would like to do. We are developing stronger regional value chains that will connect a number of African countries, providing investors with diversity, with strength as well as with resilience. The African Continental Free Trade Area creates a single market that is expected to grow to 1.7 billion people and nearly $7 trillion in consumer and business spending by 2030. The success of the African Continental Free Trade Area will require a massive investment in infrastructure. We need to mobilize the substantial financing that is needed to build the roads, the ports, the rail, the energy and telecommunications network that will enable industrialization and trade. It is also pleasing to hear that you as the business community, you also see this area as opportunities that you can invest in. Growth in African economies will be driven in the main by small and medium enterprises, This requires focused as well as effective support to these businesses. It is important that specific financing be directed also to women-owned businesses so that they can harness the benefits of the continental free trade area. And we in Africa, as we seek to grow and develop, we are focusing on the empowerment of the women of our continent who have been held back through the years of colonialism, and in our case, through the years of apartheid, through protocols and laws. And we are saying we need to free the women of our continent so that they can trade, so that they can be in business and grow the economies of our various countries. Africa has a young, digitally connected and urbanizing population, a population which provides a stable workforce for companies in the future. The investment in skills development is continuing to grow. These factors all position Africa as the next frontier of productivity and growth. The BRICS countries have an opportunity to contribute to and participate in Africa's growth story. This can be achieved through greater cooperation in areas such as infrastructure, agriculture, manufacturing, new energy, and the digital economy. I was pleased to hear that these are also areas that you as business people are focusing on. South Africa has an important position in growing the African market, facilitated by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and other free trade agreements. South Africa's industrial strength, our mineral endowments, and our large market opportunities provides a compelling value proposition for companies wanting to establish their businesses here. South Africa has significant industrial capacity with Africa's most advanced industrial innovation and fabrication base. Firms that have invested here recognize that South Africa has deep local capital markets and strong financial systems. We have a diverse and sophisticated economy, and this country possesses world-class infrastructure, skills, abundant natural resources, industrial clusters, and a host of incentives to support investment. And many investment and partnership opportunities exist in renewable energy, in infrastructure, in aquaculture, in ICT, automotives, pharmaceuticals, and advanced manufacturing, amongst others. It is clear from the report that we have just received that this has been a very productive business forum. And I'd like, as I end, to commend the BRICS Business Council, the respective ministers from the BRICS countries and officials, and all business leaders who have made a meaningful contribution for the success of this business forum, and to have all of you, almost 1,500, I'm told, to have this, what I see as a very successful business forum. I sincerely hope that your participation in this BRICS Business Forum will yield the productive outcomes that are required for us to catapult BRICS economies towards a more equitable and accelerated growth. In 2 hours or so, the BRICS leaders will sit together in a retreat to discuss a number of BRICS-related matters, and one of those is the expansion of BRICS. A number of countries, some of which are represented here, are seeking to be part of this BRICS family. And we appreciate that. It goes to show that the BRICS family is growing in its importance, in its stature, and also in its influence in the world. And we will be taking into account the various desires of various countries to be part of BRICS. So we hope to take into account the report of your discussions here as well as we consider the way forward with BRICS. Your participation here really strengthens the BRICS story. It confirms that BRICS is an important player in the geopolitical and economic architecture of the world. And so we hope that it will continue to be so. Thank you very much for participating. We thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for those remarks. Our next speaker is the President of the Russian Federation, His Excellency President Vladimir Putin, who, while he's not able to be with us, will address us via video. I now ask that the video recording be started.
Dear President Ramaphosa, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm pleased to greet the government and business representatives, experts and industry specialists who have gathered to this meeting of the BRICS Business Forum. I would like to note that holding such business forums on a regular basis, along with the systematic work of the BRICS Business Council, which brings together top businessmen and heads of major companies of the 5 countries, plays an immense practical role in promoting mutual trade and investments, enhancing cooperation ties, and expanding direct dialogue among business communities, and thus effectively contributes to accelerated socio-economic growth of our states and achievement of sustainable development goals. It is important that this forum focuses on such pressing issues as the post-pandemic economic recovery of the BRICS states, improvement of citizens' well-being, industrial modernization, development of efficient transport and logistics chains, stimulation of equitable technology transfers. These challenges and complex tasks have to be dealt with amidst the increasing volatility in stock, currency, energy and food markets, coupled with strong inflationary pressures stemming from, inter alia, the irresponsible large-scale money emission by a number of countries seeking to mitigate the effects of the pandemic, which has led to the accumulation of private and public debt. International economic situation is also seriously affected by the illegitimate sanction practice and illegal freezing of assets of sovereign states, which essentially amounts to the tramping upon all the basic norms and rules of free trade and economic life, norms and rules that not so long ago seemed immutable. Resource shortages, increased inequality, rising unemployment, and aggravation of other chronic problems of the world economy are the direct consequences. Prices for food, basic agricultural products, and crops have skyrocketed, and it is the most vulnerable, poor countries that are hit hardest. Importantly, and in this circumstance, the BRICS states have stepped up their interaction, and our joint work to ensure economic growth and sustainable development brings concrete, tangible results. More and more joint projects are launched. Mutual trade is growing, industry contracts are expanding. Above all, our cooperation is based on the principles of equality, partner support, and respect to each other's interests. And that is what is the core of our association's forward-looking strategic course. The course that reflects the aspiration of the larger part of the international community, so-called global majority. The figures speak for themselves. Over the last decade, mutual investments among BRICS states have increased sixfold. Their overall investment in global economy have doubled, and their total exports have reached 20% of the world's exports. As for Russia, the trade volume with the BRICS partners has increased by 40.5% and reaching the record of 230, even more than 230 billion. And the first half of this year, it grew by 35.6% as compared with the same period in 2022, and it reached $134.7 billion US dollars. I would also like to point out that the share of the BRICS countries, with their population totaling more than 3 billion people, now accounts to nearly 26% of the global GDP. And our 5 countries are ahead of G7 in terms of purchasing power parity, with 35.1% against 30% forecast for 2023. The objectives and irreversible process of de-dollarization of our economic ties is gaining pace. We are working to fine-tune effective mechanisms of mutual settlements and monetary and financial control. As a result, the share of US dollar export and import operations within BRICS is declining. Last year, it was only 28.7%. In fact, this summit is to discuss the entire range of issues related to the transition to national currencies in all areas of economic cooperation between our 5 nations. The new BRICS Development Bank, which has already become a credible alternative to existing Western development institutions, has a great role to play in these efforts. It is only natural that enhancing connectivity and creating new resilient transport routes has become a shared priority in cooperation between our 5 countries. In this context, the BRICS Business Council's initiative to elaborate modern intermodal logistics solutions and develop railway transport corridors is of particular importance. For this part, Russia actively works to redirect its traffic and logistics flows to reliable foreign partners, including BRICS states. Our flagship project include the Northern Sea route and the new international North-South transport corridor. These 2 major transport routes aim to provide the shortest and most cost-effective trade routes to link major industrial, agricultural, energy hubs with consumer markets. With regards to the Northern Sea route, I would like to emphasize that Russia has already adopted and launched a large-scale, multi-year plan to develop its infrastructure. We intend to build fuel terminals, hub ports, to ensure connections with the road and rail transport. Icebreaking fleet is expanding, first of all by commissioning nuclear-powered vessels that have no analog in the world. As for the North-South transport corridor, it will connect Russian ports of the northern seas and the Baltic and with offshore terminals in the Persian Gulf and Indian Ocean, thereby providing opportunities to increase cargo transportation between Eurasian and African countries. Besides, this will certainly give impetus to developing new industrial, trade, and logistics facilities along those routes. Russia stands for greater cooperation within the BRICS on reliable and uninterrupted supplies of energy and food resources to the world markets. We are consistently increasing supplies of fuel, agricultural products, and fertilizers to countries of the global south and making a significant contribution to strengthening global food and energy security, addressing acute humanitarian issues, and fighting hunger and poverty in the countries in need. All these issues in particular were discussed in depth at the recent Russia-Africa summit. For example, last year, trade in agricultural products between Russia and African states grew by 10% and amounted to $6.7 billion. In January-June this year, it increased by another record 60%. Our country is and will remain a responsible supplier of food to the African continent. Russian grain exports to Africa amounted to 11.5 billion tons in 2022 and almost 10 million tons in the first 6 months of 2023. And this is despite the unlawful sanctions imposed on us that seriously hinder the export of Russian food products and complicated transport, logistics, insurance, and bank payments. Russia is being deliberately obstructed in the supply of grain and fertilizers abroad, and at the same time we are hypocritically blamed for the current crisis situation in the world market. This has been clearly seen in the implementation of the so-called grain deal, concluded with the participation of UN Secretariat and initially aimed at ensuring global food security, reducing the threat of hunger, and providing aid to the poorest countries. We have repeatedly drawn attention to the fact that in a year under the deal, a total of 32 million tons of cargo has been exported from Ukraine, of which over 70% have reached high and upper middle income countries, including the European Union, first of all, and only about 3% have gone to the least developed countries, less than 1 million tons. None of the terms of the so-called deal concerning the lifting of sanctions imposed on Russian exports of grain and fertilizers to world market have been fulfilled. Obligations to Russia in this regard have been simply ignored. Even our free transfer of mineral fertilizers blocked in European ports have been obstructed. In fact, that is purely humanitarian campaign that should not in principle be subject to any sanctions. With these facts in mind, since 18 July we have refused to further extend the so-called deal, and we will be ready to get back to it, but to get back only if all obligations to the Russian side are truly fulfilled. I have repeatedly said that our country has the capacity to replace Ukrainian grain both commercially and as free aid to needy countries, especially especially since our harvest is again expected to be perfect this year. As a first step, we have decided to graciously provide six African countries 25 to 50,000 tons of grain, each with free delivery of these cargoes. Negotiations with the partners are going to an end. Among the priority lines of interactions, we see also further coordination of the approaches of the BRICS participants on the subject of supporting small and medium-sized enterprises. This is an important part of the overall economic agenda of the Group of Five, which implies the assistance of the widest circles of citizens involved in business regarding the issues of administrative and tax regulation, digitalization, electronic commerce, and participation in the value chains. I would note that thanks to the state support programs, the entrepreneurs from the BRICS countries successfully adapt to the constantly changing situation in the global market. They find new partners, new sales channels, attract additional funding, and use more actively modern technologies. It is equally significant to continue to develop cooperation within the BRICS countries in the field of decarbonization of economy, reduction of man-induced impact on the nature, and adaptation to the changing of climate. Russia is ready to work jointly to promote more balanced approaches to the climate change in the international arena. Our country is consistently implementing the National Low Carbon Development Strategy. We plan to reach the carbon neutrality of the Russian economy not later than 2060, including through the introduction of technological innovations, modernization of infrastructure, for access to affordable and clean energy, conservation of ecosystems on land and sea. We believe that the implementation of the climate goals can be facilitated by a variety of technologies, including those that have been in use for a long time already, such as nuclear generation, hydropower, gas motor fuel. To sum it up, I would like to reiterate that the multifaceted partnership and cooperation within the BRICS is not only makes a significant contribution to ensuring sustainable growth of our states, but also generally promotes the healthy global economy and successful achievement on the global development goals and targets set by the UN to fight poverty, expand people's access to quality health care, eradicate hunger, and improve food security. Therefore, I'm confident that the BRICS Business Forum and Business Council will continue their creative work aimed at the improvement of contacts between the entrepreneurial circles of the countries of the Group of Five and joint implementation of mutually beneficial projects. In conclusion, I would like to invite representatives of the business circles to our countries to come, to the Eastern Economic Forum in Russia that will take place in 10 to 13 September in the city of Vladivostok, where by tradition there will be discussion of issues that are of interest, including the business community of the BRICS countries. Thank you very much for your attention.
Spasibo. I thank the President for his remarks. It's now my pleasure to...
Okay, beautiful people, I'm sure you're done listening to the excellent speech by Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of South Africa, on the very important guest and global economic policy event that is taking place. Now, do not forget to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend to subscribe to this channel and follow me on my Facebook page. Okay, guys, bring your comment at the comment section. Let's discuss there. Don't forget, I'll be giving you back-to-back series of the activities that is taking place in the summit. Keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing. See you in my next video. Bye-bye. I love you guys.